Hey everybody, quick reminder that we are still giving away this one-of-a-kind poster signed by Jake and I and a bunch of other talent from SI24. You can enter on the Patreon Discord. Entry starts at a couple of bucks a month. Link down below. A man who has lifted the hammer on 2 occasions, winner of 4 Pro League finals and the Paris Major. A fierce competitor who has continued his legacy with a successful casting career. Many consider him the GOAT of Rainbow Six Siege. Today we welcome Nick Pengu. I was going to say Moritzen, but I don't know if that's how you pronounce it properly. I think I'm on the right track.
That's pretty good, actually. I would say Moritzen, yeah.
There we go. Welcome you onto the show. How you doing, man?
Good. I mean, just a fun tidbit here. We had to double check if I had won 3 or 4 Pro League finals because I read 4. I was like, I think it's only 3, right? And then we double checked it, but you're right, it was 4.
You had me questioning my fact checking. I put a lot of time and effort into researching for this. I was a little bit scared, but obviously we're here, Sao Paulo, Brazil. You're returning here. Obviously, you played here at one point.
Yeah, in 2017. Yeah, 2017.
That's been a while. How does it feel to be back?
Warm. Really warm. You know, we're here now in February, and back in Denmark, it's like negative 5 degrees Celsius. Here it's like plus 30 something or something like that. So very warm. It's great to be back here. Good vibes. Relatively good food here at the hotel at least. And I mean, I always love seeing representation. You know, we've seen Brazilian players now in Europe, in North America for many different events, and now we're finally on their turf where they shine and they thrive. So it's fair.
Before we get into, I guess, your origin story and dive deep back, obviously because it goes so far back, to give context for those watching, of course, in terms of when we've just started filming this, the conclusion of day 2 of the playoffs. So obviously we've actually just seen Team Bliss take down Wolves, confirming our top 8. What do you make of the top 8 very quickly heading ahead? I mean, I know obviously when this comes out, SI is over, but just the live raw reaction very quickly.
So for starters, I was down getting food when Bliss entered the 3rd map, and I was thinking, there's no way they win, right? Because like they shouldn't. But SI is magical, and sometimes things happen that you might not think happen. But with that being said, I was in the bar, I think 2 days ago on our off day, you know, going from phase 1 to phase 2, and Sage was there. And he was drinking, and we're talking to him, we're hanging out, and he's just like, "Oh, we're not that good." And I was like, "Bro, are you kidding me? You're like 1 or 2 rounds off making things like crazy shit happen every major that you go to, basically. Same thing at Atlanta, same thing here. But they fall short against SSG, right? And then today, when I'm not looking, when I'm not paying attention, when I'm getting food, they do the magical thing. And I walk into the room, Fabian goes, "Oh, G2, they're gonna go straight, through confirmed, whatever. They get easy matchup." I'm like, they're up against Wolves, right?" He's like, "No." He's like, "What are you up against?" Blizz. I'm like, "What? They won?" It was great.
I'm surprised you couldn't hear us downstairs. We were up in the green room going absolutely insane. Obviously a big moment for Urs, but we'll bring it back to you more specifically, and I guess we'll jump into things. Obviously, you're renowned for your career in Rainbow Six, but I suppose prior to that, how did you get introduced to gaming in general? Because I feel like everyone had sort of a stepping stone into Siege.
So my mom's second husband, so not my father, he worked in IT. And this is like early, like 2002, 2003 or something like that. Computers at your home is not that common. Maybe if you're crazy, you have like the newest generation console, like a PS1 or a PS2. So we had a lot of computers and stuff. And he would put up the computer, and I would like watch him play games. I would see him play like Warcraft 3, Reign of Chaos, Counter-Strike, Condition 0, 1.6 or whatever. And eventually, when I was about 4 or 5 years old, he would invite me to play with him against like AI bots. To be like us against them, messing around, maybe doing some one-on-one stuff. Because back then, it's all like local stuff for AI. It's not really like multiplayer. So started with Reign of Chaos, an RTS game, Warcraft 3 that is, and then a little bit of Counter-Strike when I was a young boy. And then on PlayStation 2, I absolutely fell in love with Sly. Like Sly Cooper.
Yeah, that was goated. Yeah,
oh, yeah, you played that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, okay. It was good fun.
So
platformer.
Band of Thieves, the second game, was like my favorite game of all time. And if you're a Sly player and you played the 4th game that they released way after, massive letdown. If you 100%,
I don't even think I played the 4th one. I remember the 3rd one.
Yeah.
Oh, voice crack. I remember the 3rd one. Second one was probably goated, and I mean, I was quite young then as well, but a really fun game.
So Thieves in Time, the 4th game comes out. If you 100% beat it, you will get like a hidden cutscene where Sly will, spoiler alert, wake up in Egypt. It's like, big DLC, big like 5th game reveal, right? Never happened. It's like 15 years ago. So still disappointed by that, but that was my start like into video games.
What about Rainbow Six Siege then, in terms of your introduction, obviously, to Siege itself, I guess? Was this something that for you began in like alpha, beta, year one? Like when did it begin for you? When did you even find out about Siege and get involved?
So I was really big into League of Legends growing up, and then I was trying to make it pro there. Got relatively close, didn't make it. Went to Heroes of the Storm, Blizzard's mobile game. Got close, didn't make it. And then the 2015 EA, or like maybe it was 2014 EA trailer or whatever for Siege came out. I was like, oh, this game is coming out, 2015, whatever, it's cool. My best friend showed it to me and was like, oh, imagine us rappelling down a window, like rappel breaching in, like 3, 2, 1, because we loved like strategical stuff and playing things out. Saw the trailer, pre-ordered the game, got into the beta in October of 2015. Mind you, the game came out December 1st, 2015, so I played the beta. And I was like, I got scammed. This is not the trailer game. And I feel like everyone had that moment.
Yep.
And I was like,
Where's the helicopter?
Yeah, where's like the lighting and the tactical aspect and all that. But then I played it more and realized, okay, it's not one-to-one to the trailer. That was like a pre-rendered CGI thing, but it still is a tactical structured game. So I played it and I hated it, so I uninstalled it. It came out December 1st, and I was like, I'll try again with my friend. He's like begging me to play it because nothing's fun anymore. And then I was like, whatever, I'll go pro in this game. So, game came out December 1st. I think I started December 3rd. And then about, on Christmas Eve, 24th December, I just Googled, like, Siege Ubisoft forum. And I found a forum that I'd never seen before, and I made an account, or like, I guess I had my own account. And I logged in, and I made a post saying, wanting to go pro, or at least to the top. And then I put, like, my name, my age, my experience. And I actually put in there, which is crazy, because I was really set. I can IGL, I can play a lot of operators, I was a Capkin Glass main, I remember from the post. And I put in, and I am, without exaggeration and without ego, one of the best ever players in a 1v2 situation. Fast forward 7 years, I was the #1 rated 1vx player in the world as per CGG. I don't know how.
That might be the most giga-trans sentence I've ever heard in my life. Well, I guess then transitioning into competitive, you mentioned the forum post and stuff. At what point did, I suppose, GoFors begin, and how did you stumble across that? How did you get introduced? How did you find your teammates? Because obviously back then, especially, that was the pathway to bigger and better things.
I was going to say the first 4 GoFors, or 3, were the qualifiers for Pro League. So you would sign up for a GoFor, and you were like, okay, the winner, I think it was the 2 finalists from every GoFor would go straight to Pro League. It was that simple.
Wow.
Or at least there was a point, so top 8 would, make it or whatever. So I played the first GoFor, and I lost to Enemy, a French player who played until a few, he played until recently like tier 2, tier 3, but he stopped playing tier 1 like many years ago. But I lost to his team like the semifinals of the first GoFor, and I was like, these guys gotta be cheating. Like, they're so good, right? There's no way they're this good already. Like, the game has been out for like 3 weeks. It's ridiculous. And I was playing with a team called Team Reflex, R3X. Those were the, so to go back to my post, my forum post, one guy responded called Aiga.R3X, Reflex. Was like, yo, I got an offer for you that you cannot decline. I was like, cool. And he's like, yeah, so me and my buddies, we want to make a team. We want to have you in there. You can like IGL, you can play Glass Capcan, whatever. And we sign up for the first GoFor, we lose the enemy's team in like the semifinals, whatever, and we play all the qualifiers, we make it into Pro League, and then Penta approaches us, because we're one of the 8 teams. So there was like G-Bot, Warrior Team France, obviously ENS was there, Penta was there, you had stuff like, I'm not sure if Playing Dogs were in at the very beginning, but like teams like that, basically. So that's how it came about. Penta saw that we qualified, and was like, you have 2 German players, we're a German org, let's make something happen. So
I guess then for you, esports was something that was a known quantity growing up, because you mentioned trying to go pro in other games, for example. So when Penta approached you, you realized, well, your team, sorry, that this was a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, Penta back then was a huge name. They had, I think they had
a League of Legends team that was big, wasn't it?
It was the big team that I recall was the Counter-Strike team. They had Tapson, I believe, at the time, or it is at some point. Crystal, which back then in the German Counter-Strike scene was like pretty big names. We're like, wow. And they offered us discount to buy our own jersey. As that
was the signing bonus.
Did you get a Twitter banner as well?
Or? Oh yeah, we got a Twitter banner, a Steam profile picture, which funny enough, still my profile picture to this day.
Oh, wow.
I haven't changed it. And we got a 50% discount to buy our first jersey with our name on it. We're like, that's a great deal.
And you bought that?
Oh yeah, of course. You cannot go to a tournament without a jersey on. That's silly.
That's
right?
true.
Yeah.
Well, you've transitioned nicely to that first tournament, the first ever Rainbow Six LAN. It was in Cologne.
Oh yeah.
Talk us through some of your memories from that particular event, if you can remember, because it's a long, long time ago. Yeah.
I remember arriving at the air. So first of all, I had really high anxiety and really shy growing up, which I still deal with sometimes. So the idea of traveling, I got to the airport, my mom dropped me off, she drove me there, and I woke up, it's like 5 a.m, so I walk up the staircase to security, and there's like no people. So I call my mom, I think the airport's closed. No one's here. She's like, what do you mean? Can you not like find like a working person, like a cleaning lady, whatever, like asking for directions? And so I do that, and they're like, no, it's not. You walk around the corner, and like you that's security. I'm like, okay. I walk in there, I get through it. I'm sweating like crazy, super nervous. Get to the airport, and there's like a classic, guy with a sign saying ESL, looking for Pengu, whatever. And then this older gentleman comes with us, and I was like, oh, he's like electrician probably, that works the cameras, microphones, whatever. Turns out the guy that I shared the ride with was Matt Andrews, our stage host for many years to come. I didn't know that until the first day of the tournament, where he's on stage introducing everybody. I'm like, that's you! And yeah, so I was like, oh, old man. No way he works in esports. We're all youngsters, right? I'm in the bathroom. We play our first game against, oh boy, what were they called? American team. It was not the Orbit, it was the other guys, whatever. And we beat them. We had a funny rehost because there was a glitch in the land build back then where Sledge's hammer didn't work. If you would swing it, it would, like, your game would, like, freeze until the animation finished, and you just, like, magically appear again on your screen. So it wouldn't break anything. So, and nobody tested that. So we played the game against the first team, and Crip, our Spanish player, who was crazy good at the time, he would play Sledge. First round, he swings the hammer, and the thing doesn't work, and we go, admins, we need help. So we call for like a rehost, and it ends up with them delaying the entire tournament for like an hour. We all go outside the arena, or like the studio, and we talk in a big circle. Admins, both teams, Matt Andrews, like, what should we do? Because the round was started. Do we give the round to the enemy? Do we replay it from scratch? Do we ban Sledge? Like, what do we do? So already there, off to a great start. The whole thing's delayed. Anyway, we win, whatever, and then I'm off on my own. I go to pee, and in the bathroom is Matt Andrews. And he goes, oh, hey, looks at my back. Pengu! Right, check the name, right? And I was like, hey, and he's like, we met in the airport. I'm like, yeah, I know. And he basically was like, do you want to do an interview on stage? And every single inch of my body was screaming no, but I said yes, by complete accident. And I was like, okay, I've said I want to do it, now I have to do it. And I was super shy. So he's like, oh yeah, just like, I want you to watch this upcoming game and then give me your thoughts and predictions on like what Ints is gonna do, and then talk about us like how and why they did it. So I sat watching it in the stands. There was like no fans, just like 4 camera people and me basically. And I take notes like, oh, they're doing this well, and I could predict them doing this and that. And then I go on the desk and it's me, Punji Stick, and Matt Andrews. Punji Stick was our commentator back then. And Matt Andrews asked Punji like, yo, what do you think's gonna happen? What's the prediction score? And he's like, oh, I don't know. I was like, I know. I have the answer. And I remember this, there's a video of this. I put my arm in the middle of the desk like this, and I never moved it. I just stood there with dominance, and I was like, they're gonna win 2-0. This is the scoreline. They're gonna play blitz. All of those things happened. And I was like, and Matt was like, this guy's a genius. So I feel like I must have had a decent read on the game very early on, or just like really, really outrageous confidence without intending to. And then of course we won. Those are all my memories from the first event.
Yeah, pretty amazing event. Obviously, I'm pretty sure CGG retroactively gave you MVP as well for that event.
I believe so, yeah.
I'll pick up on the point you made about your mother, because you mentioned, or she was a big part in the To Win It All documentary, which I think released in 2018, if I remember correctly. What influence has she had and continue to have on your career? Talking to, other players like PUBG and stuff, sometimes family members can be quite doubtful. And I feel like especially back in like 2016, esports was very much like on the fringe. What was her reaction when maybe you told her you're going pro and you're going to these events and all this crazy shit?
So I basically, for some background information, I had like a 50% attendance rate every year for the first 10 years of school. So I was only there like half the time. And I started my first year in university, and my absence rate was like 28, maybe 30%, which is basically above the threshold for like, you gotta get your shit together. So I got called for a meeting, and like, yo, if you don't show up every day of next week, we're gonna like kick you out of school. And I was like, well, I am going to Poland for Katowice next week. I gotta get off from Wednesday till like Tuesday. And they're like, that's not gonna happen. If you don't show up, you just don't come back. So I basically went home with that information, told my mom like, yo, if I go do this, I'm probably gonna get kicked out of school. And she said, I'll talk to the school, you go, and we'll find a balance that works for both of you. At least you can go to Poland. So already here, we're qualified for Pro League. The first 3 or 2 players played at IM Katowice in front of an audience, actually. That was tiny. As like the launch of the game. So I go to Poland. We lose our match against Warrior Team France. It was like a best of 2 system, so maybe we drew them. We played G-Bots, which we beat. And then I don't recall our third game, so I guess it was just the first 2 games. And I go back home, and it's Monday morning at breakfast with my mom. And I'm like, classic movie thing where like I take a bite. I look super sad. I'm looking down, fiddling with my phone. She goes, what's wrong? I'm like, mom, like I really enjoyed playing. I really enjoyed Poland. I really don't want to go to school today. And she said, well, promise me this. I'll give you a year to pursue this esports thing. And if that's not where you have to go back to school, pick up where you have left off. And in 5 months from now, you have to pay rent. So you get 5 months of freedom. In 5 months, you gotta make what would have been $100 a month equivalent of rent. And I was like, okay, I gotta make $100. Cool. So I literally, that Monday morning, I didn't go to school. And I never came afterwards because it worked out. But basically, we played the first season. We made the first Pro League final. First place was 25,000. That's 5K per play before taxes. So I won the 5K, and I could live off that for a long time. I was buying pizza, I was buying chocolates, and I was paying rent essentially. And because I kept going, we never went back to school.
I mean, the start was great, obviously, as you mentioned, winning a couple of tournaments, but over towards SI 2017, and obviously a bit of a rough patch for you, for your team. When you kind of actually, it's interesting now, you kind of mentioned the fact that there's these kind of like requirements kind of put on you in terms of like, you've got a year, you've got to sort of make this money, you got to obviously do something with it. To then go through a bit of a rough patch, were there doubts that maybe crept in for the first time?
Yeah. My mom was a huge part of the supporter system. The whole like, I'll give you a year, it doesn't matter how weird this line of work is, because she doesn't understand video games back then. And I remember I told her that I just want to win one tournament at any point in my career, maybe be regarded as the best player or top 10 player in the world at one point in my career, and I could retire happy. So when that full year after season 1 was like, we didn't make the second Pro League final, didn't make the third, SI qualifiers come around, and we get second place. Going through the qualifiers, I believe we beat Playing Dogs, then we play Euronix Gaming. It's like a best of 3, but there's a map advantage. We came from lower brackets, so we play one map and we lose and it's over. And then they get stomped at SI. And I sat there watching the first Invitational thinking, these guys all suck. Like, I should have been there. We would have done better. So I was going to retire after not making SI originally. But that's where Fabian comes into the picture. Because in year 1, season 3, before the SI qualifier, I was playing with Fabian and the boys. Him and Junas both went through a breakup with their girlfriends back then. So they quit the game to get their shit together. I stayed, playing with Six Quadrant and the French boys. We didn't make it, whatever. Fabian comes to me after SI and says, you meet Junas and any other 2 idiots, and we can become the best team in the world. No practice, just natural skill. And I was like, well, I'm going to retire anyway. Why not give it a go? And if it doesn't work out, well, I'm back where I started, where I'm going to go back to school. But then, as we all know, we somehow quite literally became the best team in the world, and we never looked back.
Well, we'll go through some of those results then, obviously, with this new roster. You had a first place finish at the Year 2 Season 1 finals. You took down Black Dragons.
Yep.
Season 2, you took down Elevate. I can't even believe Elevate got into it.
Kids, guys, and Laxing and those boys.
Yeah, that was pretty wild.
Gamescom.
And then a third, fourth in the Year 2 Season 3 finals, unfortunately falling to Black Dragons. So obviously some respectable results there. honing in on maybe that third, fourth against BD. Obviously, a formidable roster. At the time, it was a home crowd for them as well, I believe.
Yeah.
How tough was that?
The crowd was we played in front of a crowd in year 2001, tiny crowd in Poland. Year 2002, Gamescom, pretty big crowd, a couple hundred people probably. But then we go to Brazil, and they are crazy, and I mean passionate kind of crazy, where we pretty much lost not to Black Dragons but to the crowd. We were scared. We're sitting there. Every time we die, a drone gets killed, something doesn't work out, they scream in favor because their team is winning. And mentally, very young players, very inexperienced. They never experienced that. Never dealt with the losses with that roster because, as you said, we won the first 2 Pro League finals. We had never lost before. And when the round starts slipping away, we start realizing that we're actually going to lose this. And then when we do, the entire crowd, they run not towards the winning team, but towards us, screaming, shouting, pointing. There's a big glass wall between us, of course. But we're sitting in that small glass wall. It's like, can we even get out of here? Like, are we gonna die? And like, I think Goga was crying because he speaks Spanish and Spanish Portuguese, you know. So mentally, it's a very, very difficult tournament for us, where we said, okay, guys, now we've lost. We gotta deal with losses now, because next up is obviously gonna be SI.
Yeah, you're back in Sao Paulo now. How do you feel now?
Well, I'm not crying anymore, that's for sure. Fun fact, Fabian told me that he recognizes the area nearby where we are right now from back then.
Oh, interesting.
He said the McDonald's that we've eaten at this event, he's been there before.
Oh,
and he's
really?
only been here with me back then.
Right.
And it was like the area that we were in, like, you know, big tall buildings like we're in, but I have no idea if that's true, but we might have been right nearby.
It was like 7 years ago, wasn't it? So I mean, like, that's a good memory.
Yeah. I was like, Fabian, you can't remember anything. Are you sure you're? And he's like, no, I swear.
He could be lying.
He could be. He wouldn't lie about it, but he would fuck with me about it.
He would fuck with you.
But then, like a day later, he's like, Nick, I went for a walk yesterday with Jack, and like I remember the street. I'm like, I don't know whether to believe him or not. I have no idea.
Well, we move into the juicy stuff now, and into that time period, of course, where the infamous Shaiiko ban happened.
Oh boy.
And obviously, I don't want you to rehash the details or anything like that. You've been through it before on other podcasts.
I want to hear the details.
Yeah, let's go.
Well, you can watch the 6on6 podcast by Parker.
Yeah.
Talk about it. I watched it for this, and there's like half an hour of context.
Or I could watch the Jake and Guzz show.
Well, you could, but I don't want Nick to be here all night.
All right.
I suppose looking back on that event, which is obviously a big part of R6 esports lore, it didn't necessarily all come because of you, but a lot of it landed on you.
Yeah.
In the end, now that we're in 2024, how do you reflect upon that entire saga?
I mean, the simplest answer is that I wish I had never spoken up, because nobody would have known what happened, so to speak. Because the issue that occurred is that a lot of people had this like suspicion around Shaiiko, but no one knew what to do about it. Everyone's like, oh, this is bad, but no one's gonna fix the road, right? Fix the issue. So I was like, okay, like, send all your proof to me. I'll make a document, and like, I'll send it with my name on it to ESL/Ubisoft, because someone's gotta put it in there. So very quickly, because like, I don't remember if there's like 10 or 8 teams in Pro League back then, but let's say there's 10, 7 or 8 teams, every single player signed it. So like, everyone was involved. And we had a whole like team together, like 5-6 people. We spoke to the creator of Moss, you know, the NC program, and we had a multi-page Google document and stuff. And when we sent it off to Ubisoft, they started, of course, their own investigation with ESL. They found stuff that we didn't find, and they deemed, okay, this is not good. And the issue that occurred is then that when the news comes out, I get excited because I feel like I did something good. So I say that, oh, it happened, I got Shaiiko banned. And then after that, I also say, oh yeah, actually there's this document, a lot of people were, you know, I don't want to mention names, like 7 teams were a part of this, there's a whole investigation, whatever. But the Score Esports made a video that kind of cut the clip right where it gets juicy, right? And then it's like, bam, I got Shaiiko banned, like some 19-year-old kid who lives in Denmark owns a multi-billion-dollar company. And ever since then, I'm like, I should have never said anything, because it would have been an easier life. But also at the same time, imagine the storylines that's occurred from this. Because like Shaiiko and I find now, we've been for a long time, there's been some good memes. Shaiko's infamous rise to the top had a lot to do with the drama that happened. He was playing for a shit team in BGenius, with RXWD, the worst player to ever do it, basically. who he was always gonna be gatekept there, no matter how good he was. And I don't know. In the end, despite the ban, everyone kind of benefit from it. He suffered his issues with the drama. I suffered my issues with the drama. We both gained a lot of publicity, which we all know is technically beneficial. Yeah. The whole thing was crazy, though.
Yeah, that was well before your time. I don't
Before my time.
I don't think
Oh,
even
okay.
I was like super into the esports scene at that point.
Yeah, I mean, this
but
is back in what? Is it 18 or something?
I think it might have been late 17, but I think
Really?
I don't know when the score video came out. That was a few years later.
Was it before or
Yeah.
after SI 2018?
That's what I don't remember the timeline breakdown.
Could very well be late.
I've got it listed as 17, but
Yeah.
I'm still not entirely sure.
Well, I just mentioned obviously, and we'll transition now, I guess, into SI 2018.
I do just want to quickly
Okay, no, go.
add an additional point onto that.
It is the Jake and Guzz show.
Oh, whoa.
We don't have to spend too long on this because it's probably not that interesting of a talking point, but with cheating cases still happening to this day, and most notably and most recently probably the Aces case, whether he was cheating or not with the investigation being impeded,
Yeah.
are there any concerns from you personally that the integrity of the esport is still at risk?
So, cheating online is unfortunately very easy. I'm not saying anyone's doing it, but I know from investigating the Shaiiko case back then and trying to recreate what it would look like if you were to cheat with a virtual machine, for example, it is relatively easy to cheat in an online system. Of course, on LAN, it gets a lot more complicated, but there's also simple cheating stuff like when you play online and you have admins in like your TeamSpeak monitoring your callouts. Well, you could just be on Discord as well and they wouldn't know. Like, there's so many small ways to cheat that's not like you're not aimbotting or wall hacking, but you're gaining a minor advantage that you can utilize, for example. Cheating is an issue also with like substance abuse, Adderall on LAN events, etc. That's been a big thing in Call of Duty and Counter-Strike. There's been accusations and theories in Siege. We do sign as players a contract every year with our tournament organizer about we can get drug tested at any point, even at home and in our private life, but it's never been enforced to my knowledge in Siege. And there was one tournament where a couple of teams, our team included, raised suspicion to another team that we think there might be an Adderall or some sort of substance. The really dead cold handshake, the dead eyes, the really weird change in tonality and behavior. And we're like, they get tested? And they were like, yeah, sure, whatever. Nothing happened. So like, okay, this is bullshit. Why don't we just start taking stuff? I do, to simplify the answer, yeah, I think it's a bit of a concern.
So moving on to Six Invitational 2018, having spoken to Parker at this event, it's obviously an event that he holds very dearly for himself. Reflecting on that event for yourself, what does it mean to you in terms of what you were able to achieve at SI 2018?
Well, 2018 SI was like, it was like when you have a really good dream and then like you wake up and it's like, but then like you wake up but you realize that you're still there. That's pretty much what SI team was like for me, where it was actually beyond anything I'd ever dreamt of. Not only did I win SI, I was somehow the main character, like the 1v2 clutch, I was the MVP or at least the honorable mention player for the event. And I was like, this is what I told my mom, like, I want to win one tournament in my career where I'm regarded as like one of the, if not the best player at, just for that single moment. And I want to have a memorable moment, like a clutch. And 2018 ticked off that like performance, the clutch, winning. And it was funny because when the event started in group stage, before the very first play, UB Justin, who was a community manager for Ubisoft back then, came to me like, yo, we gotta talk. And I was supposed to be banned for a full year and my team suspended from the tournament before it even started. So from going from that to winning it, I was like, holy shit, I gotta turn my life around. And it was due to basically like toxicity and negativity around the game. I was like 18, 19. I was like, this fucking sucks. This is terrible. Fuck these guys. Fucking stupid devs that aren't fixing or whatever. Classic, like completely clueless idiot kid. And it was justified that Justin took me and Shaz, our coach, Simon, was like, we gotta fix this. Like, we are heavily considering banning you specifically for a year to learn your lesson, but also suspend your entire team from the Six Invitationals while we're at the event. We're literally setting up our PCs when this happens. I go back to my team, and they're like, yo, what was that about? And then Shaz, says the message, and I stood on, like, the end of the table. The four guys are setting up. And when they looked at me like I was the enemy because they might lose their careers because of what I did, that's when I realized that I have to change. So I had a very specific mission at 18 to just be a neutral like phase, don't cause drama, be chill, do my best, hopefully make it up to my teammates, and then if we're lucky, we're not gonna get punished. And it ends up I had to make a public apology letter of like 500 words or more, make it public on Twitter, etc., and apologize, and then I could continue playing unless I would fuck up again. I'll get banned.
That is some crazy law.
Did you know about this?
No, I did
wow.
not
No,
know.
this
I think
old
there
law.
might be a talking point a little bit where we go into sort of how you've changed a little bit in terms of Twitter and stuff, but I didn't know that specifically. Could you imagine a world in which you got banned and that
and the entire
storyline never
team
happened?
gets suspended? Like that. Like what would have happened? I mean, EG would have won, of course, but like
the esport would probably be unironically dead.
Very quickly on that, because obviously, as you mentioned, you were still quite young. It's one thing to feel, I mean, I guess the right word is threatened, because in some ways you were, I mean, rightfully. Did you actually look at that and be like, oh, I need to change because I need to change? Or is it just at the time, maybe you were like, stuff you guys, but I'll do it anyway? And then as you developed, you obviously got better.
No, I wanted to change for my team, not for myself, my teammates. I was fine with my actions causing me some bad consequences. I was not okay with my action causing my teammates bad consequences. So I was like, I need to just sharpen up, because like we had already won 2 Pro League finals. We had a good thing going. It was like, I am ruining people's careers. I can't be doing that. So.
Well, you don't get banned, obviously, and you make it to the grand final against EG. And I think one of the biggest elements of what made that game so special was the fact that you guys were 0-2 down and you made that comeback. And as has been spoken about, and I think there's some footage of it as well, there's that very infamous moment where Fabian, behind the scenes, kicks your ass into gear, or the team's ass into gear. What do you remember from that moment specifically, and what do you think was going wrong for you guys at that point in time in the match?
So first of all, there are 2 things that I regret in life. One of them is that the whole clip of what he said doesn't exist publicly. The other one is that the voice comms from 2018 SI from both teams were recorded and stored for 3 years, but then deleted. No one has them.
What?
I know. We never thought to, because that was just before orgs did like voice comm videos for content. No one
Could you
thought about
imagine we
this.
still had that now?
I asked Bartosz, the head of socials for ESL / Face It, and he said we had them, but they got deleted in the year 2020 or whatever. I was like, you motherfucker, you didn't save them? Apparently it's procedure. Like, it only lasts for X amount of years. Yeah, and also like storage, right?
Unless it's put out for content, obviously.
Yeah, and there is only a small tidbit that was used, I think, for 2019 or 2020 SI trailer hype, where it's going kitchen, and it's like 20-second voice clip of like the final moments for my clutch, where Goga screams the call out, and then we scream and celebrate and stuff like that. And I was like, they exist. Someone had them. But anyway, so basically we're down 0-2. There's like a 10-15 minute break between map 2 map 3, because it could be the end. So like you have like, your desk segment, players get a break, some snacks. It's a long series, of course. And we all go to pee, we come back, and I remember we all stand there, we're like, this is so fucking Jover. This is done. I'm sad, looking straight.
I don't think that was a term back then.
Jover was not a term in 2018, but it is now. It was so over.
Yeah.
And then Fabian, coming from traditional sports and being older than the rest of us and whatnot, was like, do you guys want to fucking lose? I want to fucking lose. So let's go out there and fucking prove to people that we can get this shit done. And we're all like, woo! Someone's doing it. Fucking movie moment. And unironically, it worked. Because I was like, shit, we can do it. But there was a moment after that I think only I experienced from my team, where I walked out first. I was on the either very edge of the desk. I was second to the edge of the desk. So Shati was in the very end, I believe. So I walked out first. The other guys were like still talking, messing around, whatever. And, it's a circular arena. We're in Canada. It's like, EG is like half Canadian. Troy's there. He's a big guy. Everyone's against us. They love that we're losing. It's just like Brazil over again. But there are 2 people. One of them is in like a red hoodie, like from walking out on the stage, like top right up here. And they go, it's like dead quiet. They go, whoa, let's go Penta, let's go Pengu. And I remember being like, woo, whatever. And I sat down, I took a breath, and I was like, okay, this was really fucking nice. If we go out now, it was an incredible experience, unlike Brazil back then where I was scared. It's okay if we lose now, but these 2 fucking idiots in the crowd, the only 2 fans that we have, they believe in us. And then it's like we start winning rounds and the comeback begins. And also before that happens, actually, during the break, what also happens, we had a strat meeting in like the freaking closet bathroom or a staff room. Where like, we're gonna whip out the Monty on cafe. They're gonna fucking run away in fear. We're gonna get so many free kills. And we did just that and it worked. So strategically we're in it. Mentally we're in it from the fans and from Fabian.
Yeah, that's crazy. And you have anything
Small
to add,
things.
Jake? Or
Yeah, did you ever did you ever chat to the guy in the red hoodie?
In my Twitch chat, yeah.
Yeah?
He came
Okay.
in like, I think it was a couple of years after. Maybe I was telling a story or something, but he was like, oh yeah, like that was me. The red hoodie guy. And I think I follow him on Twitter to this day as well. And he used to be an avid viewer of my Twitch stream. So like technically, indirectly, I know him, yeah.
So who was more to credit for the comeback, him or Fabian?
I mean, sorry, red hooded guy, but it was Fabian. I mean, the thing is, I can only speak for myself. Like, I only experienced the red hooded guy, whereas the entire team experienced Fabian's speech, and
Yeah,
that guy
yeah.
got us into the same page, of course. But both mattered, for sure.
well, I think we can wrap a bow on 2018. Otherwise, we'd be here for fucking 3 weeks.
There's a lot of things that happened there.
Maybe another time. So you go on to win, I believe, Pro League Season 7, Paris Major, Pro League Season 8. At this point in time of your career and the team and where you're at, did you feel unbeatable at that point in time? And if so, how did you balance being confident in going in and winning these tournaments and complacency? Because we see it all the time in esports where teams will be at the top of their game, they get complacent, they fall off, and everyone forgets how good they were.
We had a really big love for the game back then. All of us. Going to Paris Major, I mean, that was the most dominant showcasing of any event so far, till this day, I believe. We felt very insecure because a week before Paris Major, we got picked up by G2 from Penta. They bought the whole team anonymously. We got a package deal that said you get a higher salary. It's a tier 1 org, but we can't tell you who it is. Either you say yes or no. Week before Paris Major. And we sit there, okay, it could be Cloud9, 100 Thieves, okay. Fuck it, let's say yes. You know, Penta's not the biggest. We can get more money, you know, whatever, more fame. We say yes, and like, oh, yeah, it's G2, woo! We're like, who the fuck is that? Because this is 2018.
Yeah,
Like, January 2018 was like the beginning year of G2's like more popularized internal dominance. Like, we were there. I want to like beginning years of their league success as well. So we didn't think much of it, but we go to Paris Major being super nervous because like when EG got picked up by EG, they lost. When Liquid got picked up by Liquid, they lost. There was this big orc curse that any team that got picked up would lose their first major event in significant fashion.
And that trickled all the way to O's as well.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it happens.
oh yeah, I mean,
It's an
Mind
Arsenal
Freaks literally beat Liquid at their side that year, 18, to get them out as well. So yeah, but I'm sure it happens to those two. Yeah. I went into every major event being like, we're gonna lose. Every game, every tournament, always. I was always like, we're gonna lose because I felt like it put myself in the mindset of I have to play ridiculously good and clutch out and like, you know when you're like playing 5v5 and oh I don't want to take a risk, like what if I die, like we're playing 4v5, whatever. In my mind, every round is 2v5. I gotta fucking put up a performance here because otherwise we lose. For me that worked really well, but I know that there was one time where I said it out loud, oh I think we're gonna lose, and Fabio's like, shut the fuck up, don't you ever say that in my presence again, we're gonna fucking win. I was like, sorry man, but in my head that's what I do. Doesn't work for that. For Fabian, it doesn't work for his teammates, but for me I was like, we're gonna lose. I think it was easy not to get complacent because the game was changing so much. 2 new operators every season, 1 new map every season. There was so much to learn. There were so many things to like pick up. Where nowadays it's like if you're lucky you'll get an operator that's playable. Obviously in very recent history with the defenders like Solar, Sami, Fender, etc. They're very strong. But there was a long period of time with like Grim or Sense, for example, where they weren't picked up in pro play at all. We don't get a new map every season. So I feel like nowadays you need to get bored of the game because it's not really your creative, energy is not being challenged, whereas back then it really was.
It's interesting you say in terms of like bored of the game. I guess you could also look at it from the sense competitively as a pro player, not having to worry about the meta shifting and changing every almost season with like new operators that can come in. In fairness, there also was quarantine back then as well.
Yeah, there was quarantine. That's true, actually. After Lion came out, at least. But I mean, when you think about it, when you're a pro player, it's not like a casual player where like if you don't want to play the game today, you don't. Oh, if your friends aren't on, I guess I won't play tonight. You play between 4 hours to 16 hours every single day, whether you want to or not. And based on your work ethic and your discipline, of course, you play more. I had 3 years in a row where I played on average 16 hours a day, genuinely, because I was living at my mom's place. She would make me food. She would clean my room while I slept, and I would shower like twice a week at most. And that was my life from 2016 till 2019. And it's why I clocked in like 20,000 hours way before I retired, because I was literally just playing the game 24/7. Since I came from League of Legends as well, I was so far behind the average FPS player. I was terrible at like shooting people. So I played Blackbeard. Had a face shield, right? Protects me. And then I would grind Blackbeard in scrims in Pro League, but every hour I spent on my own, I would play Ashe, Jaeger, whatever, and try and learn the game so when Blackbeard would eventually get nerfed, I wouldn't be out of a job, basically.
Well, the good times obviously continued into early 2019 with 6 Invitational, the 3-0 against Team Empire. That was the second and final time you would lift the hammer. What were your feelings in response to that event, and perhaps how did it maybe differ a little bit to 2018?
It's funny because I don't remember anything from SI19 besides the finals. I can't even tell you who I played in the semis. I have no idea. Genuinely. It's one big blur. I also cannot recall anything besides... Coast and I can replay you the last like 5 rounds, detail for detail, I think, but then it's a big blur. I think we end up winning on either bank or border. I don't recall either. Whole of it is a blur actually, but winning back to back, you know, that was the big thing. I mean, that was where we lost the creative juices. It's where we kind of got complacent because like, what more can you do than a back to back Invitationals victory? Like we've done it all now. We had money. We were fed, you know, we had food in our bellies, we had won our trophies, we had got on our titles, we had beaten all the things that realistically we could beat. So after that point, that was the downhill where like, okay, what are we fighting for now? Just more? And there actually was a talking point for the team where we all kind of jokingly agreed that after winning back-to-back, we're going to quit the game. We're going to go on the stage, lift the trophy and say, we quit. As kind of like so the game was in a pretty tough state back then with like balancing in the future, and it was very uncertain like how long the game would last for. And we thought it would be funny if the biggest team in the game would quit and just kind of peace out because we didn't necessarily believe the game would get better back then, which obviously it did. But after winning, we're like, let's go for a third hammer, you know, fuck it, and it all fell apart. So that didn't happen. Yeah, but we did joke about retiring because we had done what we wanted to, and we didn't feel like there was any value in continuing for a short period of time.
Well, you segued pretty nicely into sort of, I don't want to say the downfall of G2 because that's probably a little bit rude, but obviously Pro League Season 9, you finished 3rd in that particular season. Did that feel like a blip on the radar, or was that very much a sign of things to come?
Do you know if that's the Milano Tokonami qualifier by any chance? I think it's Milano.
Season 10 was Tokonami, so
okay.
It would have been Milan, yeah.
Yeah. I believe, from memory, we were 1 round away in round differentiation for tiebreakers to make Milan. And it sucked. Because it was a mixture of like complacency and like some bad rounds going our way, and I think our prep work wasn't like great either back then, and I think we started some like slight internal like turmoil where just like more drama, more issues kind of building up, and then not making Milan. We actually lost a lot of motivation because like, oh, we're playing and trying so hard, but like we're not making in like tournaments. Like, what are we doing it for? And then we don't make Tokonami, which we're also very close about. And then Invitational qualifiers comes around, right, as well. Don't make any of those. We go to DreamHack in Montreal. Lose out, you know, we got beaten by BDS. Was actually one of the teams that beat us back when Panix and Shaiiko was on the team. TSM ended up winning it, and we're not getting a pity invite to the Invitationals as reigning champions, right? And you know what we did? We asked G2 if we could decline the invitation.
Really?
Yeah, because it's embarrassing.
Wow.
Yeah. The first thing Fabio and I did were like, can we not go? Like, no one knows we got the invite. Just like pretend we didn't get it. And our org is like, you have to go. Like, this is like massive for the org. We're like, it's embarrassing to get invited because like I don't think anybody would have been invited if it wasn't because we weren't there. They would have done maybe like a community poll or something, but they wouldn't have like outright just picked the team. I don't think, unless like a big org wanted to join the space. So we fought really hard to like not go actually. And then, you know, we went through the roster issues after. So before this happened, you know, we had the Raleigh Major where we made it to the finals, fell to Empire in what should have been our victory by our means. We kick Goga. We go through all those really bad roster changes. We bring in Cryan. Cryan did really great in scrims, but then didn't really perform when it came to like the actual serious situations and games. He had some personal issues at the time. So like, okay, Cryan, figure out your life. You're a great player. You'll come back stronger. And then we pick up Sabas as a last-minute support stand-in, and it didn't click. Cryan didn't click. Sabas didn't click, and then we never recovered. Like, I don't think G2 fully recovered from kicking Goga until like they won with Fabian as a coach last year, where they've always had like 3 or 4 players that were solid, and then rotating 1 or 2 players ever since. Like, we picked up Virtue, Citizen, myself, Uno, Kanto. And then I left, and 1 player came in. And then Uno Kenzo got kicked. 2 players came in. And sure, like Citizen and Virtue were there for a while. Now it's just Virtue from that core. But G2 always had the 5th-man problem. Even winning SI last year, Blur was the problem. They kicked Blur right after winning SI. And they were gonna kick Blur before SI and pick up me. But I was a caster, so I said no. So like, I technically woulda, coulda, shoulda played for G2 when Fabian coached them and won SI last year. But
That would have been crazy.
I know, Fabian was like, do you want to come back to G2 and raise a hammer? I was like, I'm casting. He's like, well, I'm coaching them now. I'm like, really? And I thought about it. I was like, I can't give up casting now. Like, it's early on with Parker. The whole kicks thing was a big toll on like everybody and everything, you know, in Siege. And I felt like it was now my place in the Siege world to do the best job that I could to fill out that massive void that was left by Michael, which I can maybe take up 10% of that matter, but 10% is better than nothing. So I was like, I need to do this. Like, this is where I belong now. And then the crazy thing was that I ended up casting the finals with Parker because Ace and Des got sick. They were gonna cast the finals originally. So I cast Fabian coaching G2 to the 3rd hammer, and I was like, this feels right. I am where I am supposed to be, and Fabian where he is supposed to be, and all is right in the world. And it felt like I was there with him, you know? So it was okay.
Touching on Michael, I think it's a good segue, and if you want to sort of circle back to anything that was maybe missed here, what was the impact for you individually, I guess, when he tragically passed away? What I don't even know how to express the words, but yeah, basically, how did it impact you?
It's weird because I have known Michael since the very first Siege tournament ever, where I thought he was a woman because he had long hair. He was in the elevator with his back turned, and like he's short, he's long hair, he smells good. I'm like, who's this chick? You know, I'm 18, fuck it. And then he's talking, I'm like, whoa, it's a man. What's happening? You know, and I couldn't figure out the longest time who the fuck this person was. And then like he played for Orbit, and I was like, oh, he's a player, cool. And I remember very early on when I was streaming with my big mouth, I was like, NA's fucking terrible region, whatever, for my 50 viewers. And then comes in Kickstarter out of nowhere. What are you saying about North America? And my Twitch chat, he's like, we're gonna prove you wrong. So very early on, I had some like interactions in a good way, funny way. But I almost never spoke with the guy directly. I would watch his stream, he'd watch my stream. We played ranked together sometimes. He made that kind of like academy team and call out sheet at some point where I was a part of that too. And we would, you know, sit in the hallway when I'm playing and he was casting and stuff, but we never had a sit-down moment, like getting to know each other. And same with Parker. I never spoke to Parker before I became a caster either. I was so focused on playing and practicing and being in my room and thinking about the game. But I was streaming when the news broke out. And my chat, you know, it's on my right-hand side and I'm playing the game and I just see it going really fast for no reason. Like, I didn't clutch. Like, I didn't say anything funny. Like, did I slip up, like, a bad word or something? I look over and it was like, check Twitter. Like, it's Kickstarter. I'm like, did he get announced for, like, fucking Streamer of the Year or something? Like, man's phenomenal, right?
He's just been nominated.
Yeah, like, what? Yeah, he's done nothing bad in his life. Like, there's must be some crazy good news. And I check it and I read the thing and I was like, fuck. And I pretty much just, like, turned off my webcam, started crying, talked for like 5 minutes about him and my experience. I was like, I gotta go, I gotta turn off the stream, I gotta think about this. I have never ever had anyone near me die. I have a very small family, my mother and my brother, and when we had like a cat or a dog. I've never been to a funeral, nor a wedding for that matter. So I've never like suffered loss. But when Michael passed away, that was like what I imagine the closest feeling to like a personal loss would feel like. Because I was so sad for a long time, and I was like, this is gonna impact all of Siege. Every final, every event, the streams I used to watch, the legacy that he had put on the game. And then Parker approached me, I think 2 weeks after the news broke out, and was like, yo, so you and Michael were very similar, you know, you both were like really good players, and you know the game very well, and you say what you mean, and you have good opinions, and I don't want you to replace Michael's job because he's irreplaceable. I'm gonna be blunt with you. You cannot do the job that he did. But I think it would be a big comfort because everybody knows your voice that if you took this job now, because it's an impossible job to take, that I would have a lot of comfort, and I think the fans of Siege have a lot of comfort in this. And I said no. I didn't dare touch Michael's legacy because obviously I'm gonna get compared to him, right? I'm casting with his duo, doing his job, being the color commentator, breaking things down, sharing my knowledge. And I was like, I don't want to do this. This is too big of an ask. And I spoke with a couple different people. My mother and Parker came back to me and was like, I understand it, but just like a final time, like, you're not replacing him. You're just kind of trying to fill in like a tiny portion of this gap that he's left behind. I was like, okay, I'll try it. And obviously that's now a little bit over 2 years ago. And I still sometimes feel like, fuck, man, you know, there was the first event that we did with fans, which was the Charlotte Major. He had this, it was a Kickstarter like charm, or I think it was the charm. He's got a couple different small pieces of significance, and we took a photo, you know, first I think it was a finals cast with the crowd, and he put it down. He's like, for Michael, and I was like, fuck, man.
Yeah,
again, right? And I was like, and if I feel that way, imagine how Parker feels, right? Because he's the person who lost someone who he worked with and considered a brother. And I don't think about it as much anymore, but there's still moments where I'm like, I shouldn't be here. And Parker, like, I'm not the person that Parker wish was here. Not in an ill way, but it's like, that was supposed to be Michael, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think because obviously when it comes to Michael, and I guess just continuing to talk onto this, I remember at the time, I was still really new to Siege. I started Siege, I guess midway through 2020 during the COVID era. I did like one pro league before it transitioned into Oceanic Nationals and then into Apex. So, and I remember because we actually had the opportunity to do SI 2021 remotely, which obviously Michael was a part of and such.
Yeah.
And then I believe after SI 2021, we went into that like APAC North, APAC South kind of system. And I remember because coming from another esport, when I came into Rainbow Six Siege and I really started to kind of like see what the community's like, who are the other casters, who's in NA, who's in EU, and you go and look at like Interro and Kicks, and you're just like, yeah, these are the guys. Like straight away, you're just like, these are the fucking guys, and like what they can do. I got drawn into their ability to cast, and I was like, I really like the way that they do these things. And then while we didn't end up casting with Kicks, the fact that we were able to work an event, you know, I hold very dearly. And then obviously just only a couple of months later, obviously he passes away, and we had obviously I think it was it NAL and was like EUL ended up getting like delayed, and it actually ended up being, I think it was APAC South, could be wrong, but I think I'm pretty certain it was APAC South. We were the first broadcast to actually go live after his passing. And that was like one of the toughest things because each of us kind of, basically, I can't remember if it was like us four. I think it was myself, James, Guzz, and Rob, maybe Raven at the time. I can't recall. And we all just kind of like said a word, and it was just like, I barely even knew the guy.
Yeah.
And it was just such a tough moment, obviously, for Siege as a community, as a fellow colleague, obviously as a fellow caster, and what he was able to do. And then it's just that grief, that sudden loss. It was obviously very difficult. So I couldn't imagine, obviously, what yourself went through, as you said, then what Parker went through, and it just kind of keeps going on like that. And I think it's always really good. Obviously, we've had a chat with Parker. I love being able to keep Michael's legacy alive in Siege, and I think that's such an incredible thing because realistically, there's not too many people in this world that can probably leave legacies behind, and the fact that he was able to do that, I think, speaks volumes to him and his memory. And no, I agree. And that's the big thing, is I think a lot of people
not that they think about it, but like they're afraid of being forgotten. You know, if you do content creation or public figure, and I don't think Michael ever cared about being remembered or forgotten. He was such a humble person who always helped other people. But then, you know, he is probably the single biggest person we've had in Siege of like significance in a positive light, where he was also our outlet to outside of Siege. Like he started, you know, winning awards all of a sudden and being nominated, and him and Parker just he just dabbled into Valorant back when that was very new as well for like a cast or two. And
A
I was
little
like,
bit of ACT.
yeah, exactly. I was like, this is Siege's way. Like we're getting on the world map right now through these guys and through Michael specifically. And I was like, that's sick. So no, they had a very big global impact for Siege.
I thought you were gonna jump in. I suppose then, honing in now in 2024, you've been casting for some time. Parker was, you know, in high praise of your ability to learn so quickly. How are you finding casting at the moment? And leading on from that, have there been and could there be in future temptations to return to playing?
I had a temptation to play very recently. I play with Fresh and Friends in the Malta qualifier up against Wolves.
That doesn't count. Come on.
No, we went.
Bliss beat them, man.
I know that's the crazy part. We're worse than Bliss now. Fuck nah. So Fresh and Friends without me went overtime on Consulate. We played them. We lost 5-7 on Nighthaven Lab. That was my first ever Nighthaven Lab in comp play. And Fab and I almost pulled out off a 2v5. And I was like, we're so back in town, you know? I dropped 16 kills against Wolves. No shakes, no nerves, just pure confidence and ability to like get the job done. And I was like, I have avoided playing serious tournaments since I retired because I'm so afraid of what it'll do to me, like an addict, you know. Like I get a whiff of that. I'm like, I need more. Because I remember I texted my mom, my girlfriend. I was like, this was really good. Like this felt so right. And I went to bed so happy that night because I was like, I'm in my element. I'm doing what I'm good at, where I belong. Because I still feel like that shy, introverted kid who's like good at video games, and that's really all he knows. So when I play games at that kind of level, I'm like, this is what I was born for. But it's a risky lifestyle. It means that other things gotta take a backseat, like friends, relationships, family, etc. Because it's a very like, especially if you want to be the best, then I don't think I would go back being like, oh, I can make some money and maybe make it. I'm like, I want to win the invitationals. Like I'm like Troy Canadian. Like we want to win. It will require a lot of sacrifice, and I don't know if I'm willing to give up the luxurious lifestyle and the freedom of being like a talent member and a streamer and having a life on the side. I appreciate casting. I didn't think I would ever do it. I didn't ever want to do it, but I've come to enjoy it. And also, as I'm sure you can speak of being from different esports, like we have a very, very lovely talent crew here.
Yeah, we do.
Like yourselves now as well, making more and more events. Now I finally get to meet you guys more. We are, you know, as many as we are at international events, and it's always good vibes, laughs, good times. Like there's no bad blood ever, and I see it as like my family on the road. So also giving that up to be there, because I can't hang out with you guys if I'm a player. I'll meet you in the hallways, man. Yo, you guys are nice, woo, whatever, blah, blah. Yeah, we'll win, of course, man, 2-0, whatever. But I'll be in my room screaming and practicing. So.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think using Bliss as an example, I feel like I've barely seen them for the last 5 days because rightfully so, they've been scrimming, they're practicing, they're grinding, they're doing well. So really, yeah, I agree with that. And obviously we had the fortune of now casting, all three of us, not together all at once, but
cast, yeah.
Double color duo.
I know.
Double color duo. And I got to say, like, obviously, I was incredibly happy with the cast that we did together. I think
likewise.
Naturally, a play-by-play and a color, I think, is always going to go really well together. But I was just very impressed and blown away by just your ability as a caster. So I hope you don't ever feel as if that this is not something that you have a place in, that you feel like you're always just going to be that player. I think it's natural that you're going to be able to make that transition when you think about player becomes a coach becomes a caster.
Yeah.
Fabian.
Yeah, I was going to say that. That's a guy I know. I mean, I appreciate that. And I don't read like Reddit too often these days. I feel like I did when I was younger, but now I care more about like what I think. But I did check like the matchups and people's comments on like, oh, this team did this, and most Reddit comments like, this team that lost, they fucking suck, and there's no reasons why they suck, they just do because they lost. But I saw a comment on one of the games that we did that was like, oh, Synox and Pengu work surprisingly well together and had like 100 upvotes. And I was like, I have never gotten a comment with my name with 100 upvotes before. I was like, damn. But yeah, you and I work together, Gus and I work together, and it's a pleasure in both ways. Obviously, very different scenario because we have very different roles here. We did double color, whereas like
we were a bit more traditional.
you were basically you got the beard like part. It's like, this is the Australian part.
The Australian part.
He says the exciting stuff, and then I'll talk the boring breakdowns afterwards. But no, I really enjoyed mixing duos because you can learn so much more from different people. Because like with Parker and I, and this is the same with most duos, I imagine, it's like an autopilot running system. You know how it's gonna go. You know who's gonna say what. You know the phrases. Like Parker, you've said this phrase like 500 times, but the viewers don't hear it every single time. I do, right? I hope we can get to mix it more. Like I could continue doing it throughout events because I think it's good fun.
I suppose getting towards the end of the interview now. Bit of a generic question, I guess, that we probably throw at all our guests.
No.
But Pengu in 5 years. Where do you see yourself?
Am I at a job interview right now? For Christ's sake, Jesus.
What's your strengths and weaknesses?
We'll get into that.
Yeah. Damn. I hate this question because this is like where I'm in life right now. Like I actually ask myself this question like every day. I had a longer relationship. I moved to America. That did not work out. Moved back to Europe, and I have a new partner. Together for like a year and 3 months now. And I'm trying to figure out where my place is with like streaming and casting and relationship and like my mother and brother and my best friend and all these things. And I'm like, where am I in 5 years? Where is Siege? And is Siege here in 5 years? You know, because
the thing is, you're still so young, despite having such an esteemed history.
You say that, but I'm 26. I feel old.
That's
and then
young.
people who are above me will say, "Oh, you're still young."
You are though.
No, I know. This is a classic thing where like young people say they're old and they have no time, but people are like 50 and make their first book. You know what I mean? It's like there's time. In a perfect world, I would like to continue doing this until the game eventually ends, because all games do. Because then I have been there since the beginning till the end.
We'll say that's a Counter-Strike.
I'll be here for a long time. Well, technically, Counter-Strike died when Counter-Strike 2 came out. Which
Well,
oh,
So when Siege 2 comes out, where Pengu's done.
did you just leak that Siege 2 coming out? Oh, leaks.
Oh.
I mean, no. I would like to be here to the end. Because I feel like from my own side, like I like that this has been a staple of my life since I was 18. I'm 26, and like I don't know, someone's gotta be there the entire journey, right? I would like to ideally, let's say in 3 years Siege is gone. Well, in 5 years, I would like to have taken my university degree, which is like 2 or 3 years, and lead into like a normal, regular, stable job. Because I think the fear and the stress that comes with the fragility of esports, how usually we don't get a contract till like the month before the event. You don't know if you're working it. You're hoping you're gonna get the contract, but you have no idea. And when I was a player, you might get kicked any day. You might have a player leave any day. So
you
I
might have
want
one bad tournament and there goes an SI or something.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I would like stability.
Mm.
I also wouldn't mind working in a different angle of esports, but stability is a priority. And I guess I need a goal to work towards because I'm very goal oriented, and I feel like I've been floating for a long time. I'm kind of just doing what is there. Not that I don't again enjoy what I'm doing, but I'm not working to become a caster. I am a caster. I want to work to become like either the best at something or towards becoming something.
So, I mean, I guess judging them by your answer, you say obviously Siege dying, for example, or ending, or however you want to phrase it, obviously is more so hypothetical. Does that necessarily mean that there's not much of a world in which you would think about going to another esport in any shape or form, whether that's playing, coaching, or casting?
Let me ask you the same question. If Siege disappeared tomorrow, what game would you go to?
Well, I still do PUBG, so...
Let's say PUBG wasn't here. What'd you go?
Yeah.
Let's say a new game. What game has your interest where you like, I could do that. I would want to do that.
I mean, that's a good question. Because, I mean, I think when you kind of look at Valorant, for example, probably the best example of a game that came out and a lot of people were like, oh, that striked my fancy. I want to go and get involved in that.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't think there's anything like as of right this second that's just come out that I can recall.
X-Defiant by Ubisoft might be out by the time this comes out.
Maybe X-Defiant.
I don't know. Is this video video dropping in 3 years? I don't know.
It's taking a while.
But no, that's a good question. I think that for me, I'm a little bit different where I'd probably look to stay within esports, and I would be more than happy to obviously go from a say Rainbow Six to another title because I've clearly already done that before, right?
Yeah,
I've already
yeah.
like I started in Overwatch, and then from Overwatch did a bit of Rocket League, then PUBG, and then obviously combining PUBG and Rainbow Six.
Okay.
But I guess then for you, again, the fragility of esports is something that you kind of want to move away from, because obviously,
Yeah.
regardless of what esport you go to, it's going to still be there.
In one aspect, but I also love esports, right? And I think everyone hates how fragile it is, but everybody loves esports as it is. If a new game came out that I truly enjoyed, I would definitely want to pursue it as either a player or a coach or a talent member. There just hasn't been that game. And the one thing that I've been waiting for a very long time is actually a new MOBA game. Because like Dota and
Yeah,
League of
true.
Legends have been played to death in my book. I think it's time to like change up the genre a little bit, like a new twist to it. Kind of like Siege was a new twist to FPS, like 5v5 tactical shooters.
I mean, I guess Heroes of the Storm kind of tried to do that.
It tried. That game also didn't make it very far.
No.
Also, Blizzard and esports was never like, besides Overwatch, was never like a big deal. And
Overwatch League is
also,
dead, mate.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't gonna say, but like Blizzard is known for that, right? So like, if a new game came out that kind of like Valorant, you're like, this game is here to stay, and you like, because Valorant didn't like strike my heart. I was like way more into Siege. I would go for it, but I don't think necessarily I would go from Siege to that new game, unless it was like a common factor, like a known fact that Siege was on the downhill and this other game was on the uphill. Then that naturally do like a small transition, maybe work a couple of gigs, start streaming it more, like getting familiarized with the territory, and eventually transition over.
Very quickly, as we look to wrap things up here for this particular episode, again, we are filming this as of the second day of the playoffs. When this does eventually come out, we will have known who's won 6 Invitational.
Oh boy.
Bliss. Bliss.
Bliss.
Very quickly, I mean, obviously, who do you think is going to win SI this year?
So the pessimist in my mind is like, I don't want G2 or DC to win, because that means that either G2 goes back to back and I'm not there, or Troy gets a third hammer, so plays the only person in the world. That's a real thing, right? Like there's a lot of pride and ego in those things, where like I want to keep that for longer, and I know Fabian feels the exact same way. Like you watch G2 and like, oh yes, they won. Ah, fuck, they won. You know, it's
hang on.
like, because we all love them, but we also hate them a little bit. I do think though, you know, as of this recording, Liquid is going home. We know that happened a couple hours ago. But I had like Liquid or FaZe make the final to play in front of that crowd, have their quarter, semi, and finals games, because I think that that's what I would want for a Brazilian player to play in front of a home crowd. I would love to see like FaZe G2 Grand Finals, reigning world champions defending the trophy, but then like the local home turf team who's like been so consistent as an org throughout the entire history of the game, and even won a recent major like 2 years ago. So FaZe G2 with FaZe winning, it would be like.
It's interesting that you didn't mention W7M, who's obviously still in that lower bracket as of right now.
Yeah.
Provided, let's say, there's a world hypothetically where they make the grand final, and even more so win SI, it would be the treble. It would be 2 majors into an SI. Where would you put them in terms of them historically in Siege? There's many that probably wouldn't put them above, say, the Penta G2 era from yourself, but at least in that conversation, or starting to join that conversation.
I had a debate about that right before this tournament started, because I had that same theory, like where would we rank them historically? And I personally would put them, let's say they do really well at this SI or win it, I would put them right between like Penta and Empire as the most like dominant teams in Siege. Above Empire, because winning consistently for like 2 majors into SI and you made the finals of the prior SI is ridiculous in itself. And W7M, they did it pretty dominantly, dropping very few maps overall, besides this event so far. But I don't think it rivals like majors back-to-back SI, 4 Pro League finals, whatever that Penta G2 did. And we also did it, which I value very highly, back when we got a new map every season and 2 new operators. We were trend-setting and meta-defining the game for 2 years straight, being the front runner every single time.
Do you think, though, that WF7M would say it's a more difficult game to play right now in terms of the skill level of the players?
Yeah, because you can argue that everyone today is better, and everyone's full-time and like full salary, besides maybe some individual teams from like APAC or MENA, for example, whichever. But you need to compare the competition to what you're against. You cannot compare 2018 G2 or Penta to 2024 W7M and the competition, because that's not fair. So you look at what we had to work with against our competition, what they had to work with, and when we did it, and you do that same thing now for like W7M. What they have done is incredibly like impressive, even if they were to go out tomorrow, for example, at this Invitationals. But I don't think it's going to topple the biggest dynasty in story that we've had, but it certainly is like up there for like top 3.
Very respectable answer. I think
It's going to be very interesting to see who wins this event as we reflect on
It
that.
is a little bit frustrating. This comes out so far in advance, and there's someone in the
Well,
comments
hey.
like, "What do you mean, Pengu? Fucking FaZe ended up winning, and it was great."
I do want to hear though before we change it. Like, who do you guys think is gonna win? Because everyone's got different opinions on this.
I actually think it's going to be Sonics.
Okay, I don't think it's a hot take because they've looked really great, but they have also had the easiest bracket so far.
They certainly have. I think tomorrow we'll probably get some more answers on them.
yes.
So obviously that'll be
Sonic's
day 3 of the
FaZe,
playoffs.
so like that will define my prediction too.
If Sonics beat FaZe, I think at that point it really sets them up
Finalist.
into the pole position to really go all of the way, and I think
Yeah.
it would be really good for North America. I'll ride them. I'm not going to fence sit and say others here and there or whatever. I would like to see obviously Brazil do well enough to get to the arena. It would be really disappointing.
Oh yeah.
Whether that's the actual grand final itself or at least the semifinals or whatever, but I'm going to back Sonics.
Okay.
W7M. I
Oh.
know they're in the lower bracket, but I mean we casted them today and they looked pretty sharp overall. Not as good as they have in the past. I definitely think there's something.
There's more vulnerabilities.
There's definitely not.
Yeah.
There's something that's not quite clicking for them at the moment. But I think as long as they're able to weather the storm tomorrow, as of recording this, and make it to live stage, that's where they're going to thrive, right? Because especially at every other event, they've been the enemy. It's gonna be interesting, I think, to see the dynamic here because they'll actually be the heroes.
Yeah.
I will add the one caveat. If it is like a Sonics W7M grand final, I would change it to W7M.
I'm not gonna change.
That's the only caveat. That's the only
Classic flip
caveat.
flop from you.
Because I honestly don't know how Sonics would handle that environment. That is a very difficult environment. You think of someone like an
I'd
Ambi.
be like you
Yeah.
back at
Exactly.
South Hell.
Ambi's gonna have my experience, but they're gonna kill me,
yeah,
man. What's the
they're
other?
gonna kill me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap up the YouTube portion of this interview. Of course, as always, we've got our Patreon exclusive that will be chatting a little bit more with Pengu. But I just wanted to say thank you so much, obviously, for coming into Guzz's hotel room.
Hell yeah.
And
Did you enjoy it?
No, as I said when I walked in, wow, this layout is so different than mine, and it is.
obviously appreciate you to come in, have a chat with us, taking time out of your day. Really means a lot for us, and hopefully for everyone at home, they enjoyed just what feels like basically sitting down and having a chat with a good friend.
Yeah. No, thank you guys. We tried to do this like a couple days ago, and like we're all busy. It's like No, actually, what happened was that you guys had Parker on. And Gus was like, oh yeah, hour and a half from now we should be up there. And I'm like, okay, I can't lay in bed. So I went to the gym. Okay, now I got to shower, whatever. I was okay, now it's been like an hour and a half. I'll start watching a movie. I can just pause it. And then like, I'm like half asleep. I'm like, ETA. He's like, we just finished. Yeah, we're not making it.
No,
I'm gonna sleep.
no. Parker
But,
was
He yapped a
He was
lot.
yapping.
he yapped. Yeah.
No, I mean, it's a good episode. So I'm glad it did happen because like, if you keep saying like, oh, we'll do it like tomorrow, next time, eventually the event's over. So I was afraid that we might not do it. So I'm glad we did.
Well, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on. Awesome chat. And maybe in future we can talk about some other topics or dive into things we missed.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Make an occasional event recap, and thank you all for watching as well.
Yeah,
by the
make
way.
sure you hit the subscribe button, like button, leave
And
a
the
comment
bell?
down below, the bell as well.
Yeah, the
We always forget the bell.
It's better than Parker. Parker didn't say to ring
Parker
the bell.
didn't say that.
Parker doesn't care unless you pay him to. That's how it goes.
Alrighty, guys. Well, of course, we'll see you in the next episode. Much love. Take care.